everybody, it's Geordie from Geordie's Cards here for Pour Some Stamps. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm very excited to be bringing you this cute Christmas card featuring one of my favourite stamp sets, Gingerbread Lane. I absolutely adore this stamp set. There's so much you can do with it, so many different little elements, and you can use them in so many ways to create a scene like I'm doing today, or use the individual elements in different ways as well. So as you can see, I've gone ahead and coloured and cut out my images. I've gone for a slightly non-traditional palette today. I'm using kind of this pinkish magenta-y colour and a paler pastel green. So now I have a piece of Bristol Smooth cardstock that measures 5.5 by 4.25, and I'm using Distress Oxides to create a background. So I have spun sugar here, which I'm placing on the bottom part of the card panel. I'm not going right to the bottom edge because that is going to be covered up, but kind of quite far down and blending up towards the top. Then I'm going to take this Seedless Preserves, which is a gorgeous colour. It's so saturated and rich, and I'm blending that onto the top. Now, obviously there's quite a contrast between these two shades. One is very much darker than the other. So I'm going to take some time to blend between the two so I get a nice smooth transition between the colours. And I just think these look really, really pretty, and they work really well with the colour palette that I've chosen for my card today. So as I say, taking a bit of time, making sure I get that nicely blended in, going back and forth between the colours until I get a really nice smooth blend, and I'm happy with the background. And I think this is just kind of, it's a really fun Christmas card. It's pretty, it's cute, and I think it would make somebody smile. So now I have these two pieces of white Bristol Smooth cardstock that I've trimmed out to create a kind of snowbank effect. And for this one, I'm using Speckled Egg, and I am just going onto the tops of this snowbank with my blender brush. So not blending all the way down, just towards the top. I just want to create the effect of snow. So it's a very pale, soft kind of greenish blue, I guess. And I'm just creating a bit of shadow at the top to create some definition. So once I've finished with both of these snowbank pieces, I'm going to put all of my ink blended panels into my splatter box, and I'm taking this white metallic watercolor paint and splattering it all over everything. And I love this paint. It was just a very cheap set that I bought from Amazon, and it works a treat, and it's got this lovely metallic sheen to it. Now, it's not quite as kind of in your face as a white paint would be, but it just gives a nice kind of sheen, and I'm using it also, you can see here, to kind of go over the edge of my snowbank, the top edge of my snowbanks. Now, I'm doing this quite roughly. It's not perfect, it's not neat in any way, shape or form. I'm just going rather roughly, but it gives the effect of kind of sparkling snow at the top of the snowbank, and I really, really like the way that it looks. And it's quite subtle. You don't see a huge amount of it. It's only when you kind of turn it towards the light that you really catch a glimpse of it kind of shimmering and shining. And I think it gives a really nice effect. So I'm trying to hold it up there so you can see. It's quite hard to catch on camera, but it is definitely there. So now I'm going on to my sentiments, and I've pulled out a sentiment from the stamp set that says "From Our Home to Yours," and I'm going to stamp that onto the front snowbank. I'm just using some black ink for that, and I'm just going to stamp it direct down onto that snowbank. And then the rest of my sentiment is going on to the pink ink blended panel, and it's going to be that little Merry Christmas from the Gingerbread Lane stamp set. Now, initially I placed it quite high in the top left corner, and then I decided I probably needed to move it down a little bit because I'm going to have a bit of a border around, so I wanted to make sure that my sentiment wouldn't be covered up. Again, I'm just stamping that down with black ink onto that ink blended panel. So once my sentiments are done, it's time to kind of put my card together. So I have this little line of gumdrops, which I just think are so cute, and I'm going to layer them behind this front snowbank. Now, I kind of wanted to try and curve them a little bit. It was easier said than done though, so I ended up just kind of popping them on straight, and part of them kind of gets covered up a little bit, but you can see most of it, and I'm quite happy with that. So for this larger snowbank that's going at the back, I'm just going to adhere that directly on with some liquid glue, place that down and center it nicely over that base piece. And then I'm going to pop this bit on top. Now I'm just using liquid glue for these pieces. I'm not using any foam tape yet. I will be adding some foam onto some of my images, but these kind of background pieces I'm just placing flat down. So before I did glue that front piece on, I just wanted to make sure that I was getting everything kind of lined up and in the right places. So I laid all of my images out roughly where I wanted them so that I could eyeball where I wanted them to go. And once I was happy with the placement, I then started gluing everything down. So there's that frame piece that I'm going to add on top. And I just think that kind of adds a little bit more interest to the card and kind of just draws your eye into the center, into what's going on with all these cute images. And so I'm going to place down my little tree and then my candy canes. So I'm going to pop a dab of glue on the back of one of these and kind of stick them together so that they create one kind of image, if you like, that I can adhere down. Initially, I was going to try and pop them behind that back snowbank, but I decided, mostly because the glue was well and truly set, that I didn't have much of a chance of getting them in there behind that snowbank. So I just popped them in there. And then finally, my little lollipop. Now, initially when I put it down, I put it slightly too far to the right, and I thought that my little house was probably going to cover most of it up. So I did just slide it ever so slightly off to the left. It's not a huge amount, but just a little bit, so it's not quite so covered up by that house. And I'm just using my tweezers there to help me move the little lollipop stick so that it doesn't kind of get smushed around. So I'm going to adhere this front piece now on top, just using liquid glue again, making sure that I've got enough on there so everything is nicely stuck down and isn't going to shift around. And then I just have my house and my two little gingerbread people to stick on. So with my house, because I've got 2 layers of cardstock there, I decided to put some foam squares at the top of the house and kind of raise it up a little bit. And then I'm just going to use liquid glue at the bottom. So it's going to be flat on the bottom, flat adhered to that kind of front panel. And then it's going to have some fairly thin foam squares at the top where it's kind of onto the background. I hope that makes sense. But because I've used layers of cardstock, there is a bit of dimension there anyway. And I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't kind of bent backwards into the scene, if that makes sense. I'm going to do the same with my 2 little gingerbread people, just adding a couple of foam squares to them. And I'm going to have them looking like they're kind of holding hands, like they're a little married couple coming out of their gingerbread house to welcome you into their home. I just thought they're so cute. I think these images are so fun, and they would look so great in a range of colors. Obviously, I've gone for pinks and greens today, but they would work for so many different color combinations, and I just think they're so, so sweet. So that is it. I just need to add my frame on top, and I'm just going to glue that directly down with some liquid glue. Nothing fancy or clever here today, quite a simple scene card, but I think it's really effective, and I think the colors are really what make it kind of stand out and pop. Just making sure that frame goes in there behind my little house, and once I've got that all adhered down, all I need is a card base to stick everything onto. So I have a standard top folding card base, and I've used this gorgeous Just Sentiments Christmas stamp set, and there are some absolutely lovely sentiments in that stamp set, and I use them quite regularly for Christmas cards. And today I've chosen the one that says, wishing you a season of joy, a season of cheer, but most of all, a wonderful year. Isn't that cute? And I've also stamped out the 2 little gingerbread people inside there as well. And that is it, card complete. I really hope you enjoyed this one today. If you did, please do give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the Pawsome Stamps YouTube channel. We'd love to see you come back again. Here are a couple of other videos that we think you might be interested in. Thank you so much for joining me today. Take care. Goodbye.